the Indians who welcome the pilgrims, and to the buffaloes who once ruled a plain. Like the vultures circling beneath the dark clouds, looking for the rain, looking for the rain. Just like the cities that stagger on the coastline, and a nation that just can't stand much more. Like the forest buried beneath the highway, never had a chance to grow. Never had a chance to grow. And now it's winter.
Winter in America by Gil Scott-Heron here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we return to the interview that Angelique Hamed and I did with Swiss philosopher Tariq Ramadan, a professor now at Oxford University, president of the Brussels-based think tank European Muslim Network, just allowed back into the United States after a 6-year ban imposed by the Bush administration. We asked Tariq Ramadan to describe the concerns and realities of Muslim communities in Europe.
If you look at what is happening in many countries, the point is that it's as if the visible Muslims are problematic. So we accept you as citizens as long as you are invisible. This is the new era of invisible Islam, invisible Muslims. No symbols, no visibility, no minarets, no mosques, nothing. Well, it's exactly the opposite. The more you are visible and you are settling down, the more you are part of the landscape, the more you are fitting into the neutrality of the landscape and the civil society. So this is a distorted perception of what is the Muslim presence. So yes, the Muslims have a great deal of responsibility, explaining, communicating, reaching out. This is their duty as citizens. But we also need our fellow citizens to understand that it's a richness to live with Muslims. It's a potential contribution, and then they are part of the society. So this is what I call the new we. The new way is to be able in the United States of America to say we have the common future and we are coming with common values to change it for the better, and not to have this us versus them. It's still here in the United States, it's everywhere in the West. So we cannot speak about equal citizenship if there is no common sense of belonging. And there is no common sense of belonging yet because we don't trust each other. Not enough. You know, if you have to compare and to understand what is happening in Europe and to compare this to the States, you know, there is a big difference, is that the great majority of the Muslims who came to Europe came out of economic exile, which is not the same as the immigrants, the Muslim immigrants that you have coming from the Middle East or from Pakistan with, you know, liberal professions and more educated. They came in the States much more educated. So the immigrants are not the same. In Europe, what we have is really very modest, low profile, and workers coming to try to survive in Europe. In fact, their reality is closer to what you have in inner cities with African Americans. So this is the reality that, you know, they are marginalized, living in areas that are segregated. It's very close to this, and this is why it's quite interesting when you come to the States to listen to what the African-American Muslims, for example, are saying about the country when they say, okay, you speak about equal citizenships, that's fine, but we don't experience this. We experience that there is a citizenship for the white and another citizenship for the black. It's the same in Europe when you have, you know, people coming and they are in specific areas. The first generations were invisible. They were in suburbs. They were not in living with others. So I would say here that when you try to understand what is happening in Europe, there is something which is now done by politicians, and we have to be very cautious. What they are doing is that they are Islamizing the social problems, religionizing them, saying, oh, you know, the common feature of all this, they are all Muslims, and they are coming from North Africa, or coming from West Africa, or coming from Pakistan, or from Turkey. And my answer to this is that this has nothing to do with religion. Don't come with this. Because you don't have social policies, you end up with, very emotional politics and with Islamizing the problem. So I would say that this is a trap, and we have to be very cautious. Of course, there is an overlapping reality that the great majority of the people living in segregated areas are coming from Africa or are Muslims. But our answer to this would be to say, when it comes to cultures and religions, it's done. The Muslims are more and more integrated, and now they are contributing. And look at the second, third, and onward generations. They are much more visible in the streets, in the campuses, in the media, everywhere. They are now visible. Their parents were not, because they were segregated. Now they are getting out of the ghettos or the social ghettos and the geographical ghettos, and they are coming to the society. And so this visibility is creating a problem today, because yesterday they were not, and this is why we have all this, discussion about the minarets and the headscarf and all that. So this is it. This is one dimension. But the most important one is that what they need, in fact, is not to carry on talking about the headscarf and the minarets, is to talk about social justice, is to talk about class segregation, is to talk about people not having the same rights. And when you go to the job market, you are facing discriminations.
And your father was friends with Malcolm X?
He was, yes, he was, and I heard my father talking about him because Malcolm X, when he first was with the Nation of Islam, was very far from what we call the mainstream Islamic understanding, and he changed his mind. He went to the pilgrimage, and coming back, he went through Geneva, and he met my father. In fact, the last letter that what was on his writing was for my father. He was answering 10 questions. And in this letter, he was saying, they are going to kill me. He knew that this was going to happen. And for one reason, which is quite interesting, is that because I came back to the true Islam, and in his mind, true Islam meant it's not black against white. It's all the people of principles against all the oppressors and the colonizers. And at that point, he became very dangerous.
I'm looking at the latest piece in the New Yorker magazine that's headlined, "Tariq Ramadan Comes to America," with an exclamation point. And it refers to the writer Paul Berman, who wrote a long article for the New Republic, the basis of his new book, The Flight of the Intellectuals, to be published this month, arguing that Ramadan is to be feared, not admired, that his writings reveal a strong kinship with the radical Islamist ideology of his grandfather, Hassan al-Banna, founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. To Berman, Ramadan is a false moderate, and it goes on from there. Can you respond to those points?
I can respond by telling you something which is, I was expecting from Paul Berman something which was at the level of his, reputation. In fact, this book is a translation of what was written in French for the last 20 years. He's not a writer, he's a translator in this book. It's translation. I responded to all this by saying, come with the evidence. Come and tell me what I'm saying in Arabic that is not said in French or in English. If this was the case, how is it that I'm banned from 6 Muslim majority countries? If I have a double talk, I should be welcome in Saudi Arabia. Why am I banned from there? From Egypt, where I'm criticizing the lack of democracy. So my life is a response to this, which is rumors, Googling, no reading, translating, and that's okay if he has one evidence. I heard just this morning that I said once that there is something called Islamic biology. That he's saying that I said that. That's fine. I never use this, and I'm completely against that. But if you are repeating this on Google and having books like this, saying things that are completely wrong, my answer is, come to my life, come to my works, come to my books, and just show me where I have this double talk. And I would say something to people like him who were quite leftist and promoting social democracy in the States, and coming back with this.
I don't know if people would call him leftist in the United States. I don't know if people would call him leftist in the United
social
States.
Democrats are, yes, that's okay. But people who knew him telling he has changed a great deal over the last years. That's fine. He's not the only one. I am seeing this and meeting people in Europe exactly the same. Say, oh, we were too liberal. These Muslims are threatening us, so they are changing the mind. And in fact, you can see that all over the West, you have a kind of a network of people nurturing exactly the same ideas and projecting onto the Muslim presence something which is, oh, this is a threat. And if you come to the common ground, you understand that, in fact, they have a problem with us being Westerns or being Europeans. They want a binary vision, us versus them. More than this, they are not happy with us as Europeans or as Americans being able to say, we disagree with the American policy, for example, in the Middle East. We disagree with this unilateral support towards Israel. They don't want this. So I'm a threat because of this, not because I'm advocating citizenship. So let us come to who is hiding a specific agenda. And it's not on my side.
Let's go back to Egypt. Amy mentioned that you're the grandson of Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. No rumor there. What's your assessment of Islamist parties in general and their role in pushing for a more democratic process?